guys, what's up? My name is Crystal and I'd like to share, so let's get into it. Today we're talking about age gap relationships, and what got me thinking about this was I saw a couple of YouTubers and they did some commentary on Deion Sanders and Karuchi Tran. They're in a relationship, it's an age gap relationship. And of course, the typical speaking points is, guys, it's always so negative when people talk about age gap relationships. And that's why this topic is always very interesting to me, because it's just the speaking points. Normally, when people talk about these type relationships, they never speak about these relationships from a positive perspective. It's always that the younger person is in it to secure the bag, that they're just there for monetary gain. They're not really into the older person. They have nothing in common. They're worlds apart. And when it comes to the older person, it's always that they're there to reclaim their youth somehow through the younger person, and that they're going to suck the literal life out of the younger person. And for me, that it's just, I think that's the farthest thing from the truth. Me, for instance, I've been in two age gap relationships, and they were both more than, there was an age gap of more than 10 years. And what I experienced was that I believe that these are beautiful relationships. I think that there is something beautiful about when two worlds can come together like that. It's a beautiful learning experience when those worlds can come together, and it's just a beautiful dynamic. What I find is that when you find people that speak negatively about these type relationships, it's normally because they have either been in one and it was a negative experience, so now it has jaded them somehow to the very idea of dating a older person or being in that type of relationship, or they've experienced like some type of trauma around like these type relationships. And then the latter extreme is that you just have people who aren't progressed and thought enough to understand that love has no boundaries. It leaps over generations, and you can't help who you're attracted to. Just because you may be from one generation and someone may be a part of another, it doesn't mean that those worlds can't come together. It doesn't mean that you can't find beauty in one another. So within the age gap relationships that I experienced, again, as I said earlier, it was an age gap of more than 10 years in both. I was the younger in one, and in the other I was the older. So I'm going to share with you guys a relationship that I was in where I was the younger partner. So I'd like to share. So when I was 21 years old, I met this guy. We worked together we worked at the same job, same company. And so I met him on my 21st birthday. So, I'll always remember that. So at this particular job that we had together, it was like a custom that whenever someone had like a birthday, you used to wear like this like ribbon like around your neck, and it would be like pins on it, and everyone would come and put like $1 on it for like your birthday. So I remember when I was getting off, I was like walking to my car, and he came up to me and he was like, is it, what's up? He was like, is it your birthday? And I was like, yeah, it's my birthday. And he was like, how old are you? And I was like, I'm 21. And so it went from there. And we started talking, and we started getting to know one another. And we spent every day together from that point on, like literally like every day. When I say every day, it was like every day we were like together. And it was fun being with him. Like, I didn't feel like he was sucking the life out of me, as people would say. I didn't feel like he was trying to reclaim his youth through me somehow. And I wasn't with him for like the money or whatever. We went out a lot. I remember that we ate out a lot, and we used to kind of like divvy it up. Like sometimes he would pay and sometimes I would pay, because when you're eating out every day, that it gets expensive after a while, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, that's just like how we did it. That's like how we ran like our relationship. And, you know, I will say this. I remember that the relationship progressed very quickly, and I remember at one point he was talking about like marriage, like he wanted to get married. And that was the point where I really kind of like I was a little bit hesitant, even though I had like strong feelings for him. I was 21 at the time, and I I still had a lot of things that I wanted to do. So I remember when he started talking about that, you know, it just kind of put me in a place where I was like, wow, like I don't know if I'm ready for all of that. I still have so many other things that I want to do. So so I remember at when we met in North Carolina. I was living in North Carolina at the time. And he was from California, and he wanted to go back to California because North Carolina was like a different type of pace. That wasn't really like his pace or whatever. So he wanted to go back, and he wanted me to leave and go to California with him. And I just remember like I was hesitant just because, I was like, man, like it would have been different if it would have just been like me. And, like we're like just going as like a couple, and we're just like just having like fun together. And, it's just like we're dating and it's just us. But it was like he took it to like another level, and he was like talking about marriage and things. So I very much understood that this is the direction that he wanted the relationship to go in. And at that time in my life, I was thinking ahead, and I was like, if we have a child, it's different, when it's just you, meaning that it's just you know what I'm saying? You could just get up and bounce if you don't like how a situation is going, or if this relationship is not working out for you. But when you have children, you have to move differently, and you have to think about their interests as well, right? So, I was like, man, like I don't want to put myself in a situation where I go out here with this guy, then we, get married and stuff, and we start having like kids and things real early, and it just doesn't work out. Now I'm separated from like my support system, and I'm somewhere where I don't really know anyone, so I was thinking along that level. And it wasn't, and even though I was thinking like that, it wasn't because anything negative had happened between us. It was just that I was so young that I was like, man, there's still things that I want to do. So I was just really just thinking ahead. So during that time, I was like in the Army Reserves. So I left for a little while. I went to Germany, and I went on like it was like my 2-week like training for like the year. And I want to say like I felt like I was gone longer than that. I want to say like I felt like it was almost like a month or something. But guys, like I had fun. Like oh my god, oh my god, like guys, like I had like fun. Like like I had like a like little crew of girls that I was hanging with, like from like my battalion, like my company or whatever. And we had met up with like some guys on the base, and we were like having fun, so it was like I was like, I was the I'm sorry guys, just looking back on that time in my life, like I was just having fun. So, and it was like, it just really made me think deeply about like this relationship or whatever. And I was like, I truly do have feelings for this individual, but for where I'm at in my life right now, I don't want to hurt him, because, it was like when I went on like that trip, well, when I went on like my training, it wasn't a trip, you know, it just really just opened me up a little bit more just to understand that, you know, like, Crystal, you're not ready for where this relationship is progressing. If he would have met you later on in life, yeah, but there's still a whole lot inside of you that you want to experience. And just say, you know, for just sake of life, just to say that, you know, there are some things that you want to accomplish on like your bucket list, you know. And I remember when we used to talk sometimes, I used to listen to him, like he had like a ton of stories from like things that he had done over like the course of like his life or whatever. And I remember, you know, I didn't have as many stories, and you know, because you got to think I was 21, and I used to just be like, man, like I wish that I want to be able to like bring like more, just talk about some of the things that I had done, but you know, I was still living, and I hadn't lived enough to be able to bring that body of experience to the relationship in the way that he was doing. And that's not to say that our relationship wasn't beautiful as it was, but I wanted to be able to bring something like on my own and say like, I've done this and I've done that, just for the sake of accomplishment within myself, that, you know, something that I could feel like proud of too, you know. So yes, so when I finish like this training, and when I finish this training and I go back to North Carolina, I decided to end this relationship. And guys, that was one of the hardest things that I did at that time in my life, because I truly cared about this individual, but I also understood that for where he was in his life, like he was looking down the road of marriage and children, and I wasn't quite there yet, you know. I had very strong and deep emotions for him, but I was not there yet. And I remember during that time, this song by Donnell Jones, Where I Want to Be, that was the song that was out during this time. And Donnell Jones, within this song, he talks about, you know, I just need time to see where I want to be. There's a lot of lust inside of me. And I just remember, and we've been together for a very long time, and I really don't want to hurt you. And I remember, like, I just remember laying on the floor and just listening to that song and like crying, thinking about him, because I was thinking to myself, like, you know, like, I really don't want to hurt you, but this isn't where I want to be right now. Like, I just need a little bit more time in life to figure out where I want to be, and just, you know, and I wouldn't necessarily even say where I wanted to be, because I knew that I liked him at that time. I knew that I had very strong emotions for him, but there was just so much more that I needed to experience in life. So long story short, I ended up ending that relationship, but it wasn't because, you know, it was a negative experience for me. It wasn't because he was sucking the life out of me or anything like that. But it was just because at that point in my life, that, you know, that wasn't where I wanted. That wasn't it. That wasn't necessarily where I wanted to be for where we were progressing, because it was just a little bit much. I just knew that I needed more time, you know. So till this day, whenever I hear this song by Donnell Jones, Where I Want to Be, I always think about this relationship, and it takes me back to like that time in my life. And I can even feel like the sadness that I felt at that time in my life, knowing that I was getting ready to end this relationship, because he was a beautiful man. He was very beautiful. And when I think about the time that we spent together, it, like I said earlier, like we spent literally every day together. We laughed and we played a lot. And I remember on his birthday, and this was like the first time that I had ever really gotten like a guy anything on like their birthday, and I really like put like some thought into like this gift that I had gotten him. And I remember his favorite football team was the LA Raiders, so I got him like this jersey and like this hat. And I had put together like this little like picnic at like a park. I know it sounds cheesy, guys, but yeah, this is what I did. And but yeah, so I did this, and I just remember him being so happy, because he was like, this is like the first time that like it's not the first time that someone had ever got me like a gift, but he was like, they like actually like spent their money for it and not my money. And I just remember just being like I don't know, like it just made me feel some type of way that like I was able to make him happy like that. So but yeah, long story short, I told that story just to highlight the fact that even though the relationship ended the way it did, it was a beautiful relationship. It wasn't a situation where it, like, there wasn't a mutual attraction. It wasn't a situation where it was any type of exploitation happening on either person's end. It was two people that came together because they genuinely liked one another and had feelings for one another and loved one another. And yeah, so whenever I hear commentary where you just have like people speaking against like these type relationships, it just always takes me back to this relationship. And it's just like, no, it's actually not like that. These relationships can be like beautiful. And again, even though that relationship ended the way it did, it was a beautiful relationship. I think that there is something precious about dating someone that is much older, and realizing that that person could die before you, and they're entrusting their last years with you. And I think that there's something beautiful about that, that level of intimacy and that level of trust. And likewise, I think it's something beautiful about when a younger person entrusts their life with you enough to say, hey, like, I'm younger and I could be out here with anybody. I could, still be out here like running around, but I'm choosing to be here with you. I think that's precious. It's just something precious about that. So, I'm a proponent for age gap relationships. Now, I'm not foolish, I understand that there is a negative side to these relationships. There are some people out here who are predatory, and there are some people out here who are dating people just so that they can secure the quote-unquote bag or whatever that is. But that's with any relationship. All relationships have negative aspects to them. But all in all, I think that these are beautiful relationships, And now the other one that I was in, where I was saying that I was an older person within the relationship, that was, oh my goodness. That relationship was a nightmare, oh my God. But yeah, even though that relationship was not a positive experience for me, I would still date someone, younger again if I wanted to, you know. If there was a sincere mutual attraction, I would do it. So, yeah, that's how I feel about age gap relationships. So, you guys, with that, get in the comment section and let me know what you think about age gap relationships. Let me know if you've been in an age gap relationship before and what was that experience like for you, or if you're in one now. So, with that, guys, like, comment, and subscribe. Share this video, and I will see you in the next.